They're not going to spend a lot of time, one would expect, talking about foreign affairs, most likely, trade certainly perhaps. But I'd love to start there. You have advised a number of corporations, I know, on regulatory issues involving sanctions on Iran, for example. That continues to be a great concern of the market, given the very heightened tensions between our country and Iran. What is your sense in terms of the sanctions and the damage they may be doing to the Iranian economy?
Thank you. Good morning. I think the sanctions have had a very strongly negative effect on the Iranian economy, and I think Iran is struggling to meet the needs of its people. I think one of the things that President Trump and the Trump administration will try to do at this G20 meeting is to rally more support from the largest economies for a tough line on Iran.
Do you think he can be successful in that? I mean, clearly the Europeans who were party to the Iran Accord that we pulled out of don't appear to be particularly pleased with what's occurred since.
No, I think the lead countries have different opinions, but I think where they are together is that they see the importance of the U.S. economy. They are concerned about the threat that Iran plays in the region. They see the threat that a nuclear weapons capable Iran would have. They don't like to see Iran disrupting shipping in the Gulf. And so even though there are differences about tactics, I think there will be support for the notion that Iran needs to be disciplined and strong messages need to be sent to Iran to avoid disruptive behavior.
What would you be advising companies and boards, Alan, right now on China, and especially ones that are doing a lot of business there?
Well, you know, I think our relationship with China is going to change, and it has changed, and it's going to change in a significant way. At this moment, I think that both countries and both presidents see a need to try to stabilize the relationship. And so I'm hopeful that the two presidents will agree to relaunch trade negotiations and that could lead in the months ahead to a new arrangement. But companies should understand, first of all, that will just be the first of many because we are going to have to continue to work at this relationship. And secondly, we're going to need to address some of the fundamental differences in our economy. You know, China is a state-managed economy. China is going to be both an economic collaborator but also an economic competitor. And so the two countries are going to have to reset and rebalance the economic relationship in a way that meets both countries' core objectives. And companies are going to have to adjust to what will be some changes in their supply chains.
You know, I know your firm and you specifically also advise companies on how you comply with sanctions and different regulations. I mean, just this morning we're dealing with FedEx suing the government because it's saying, how can you expect us to police the contents of all of our packages to comply with the ban on Huawei? Similarly, a number of suppliers to Huawei are taking a look and figuring out ways that they can still sell to that company. Has it just become that much more complex for corporate America these days to comply with all of these different issues?
Oh, it really has become more complex, and it's a real challenge for companies. I just heard Fred Smith on your show. You know, I think the key thing here is one, recognizing that on some of the big issues you just talked about, including Huawei, that there is going to be a strong need for the United States to do the things necessary to protect our national security. At the same time, that probably doesn't mean that no U.S. company can do any kind of business with leading Chinese technological companies like that. And so I think there's going to need to be an effort to work out the details of some of these measures so that there can be clarity about what companies can do and cannot do in respect to their trade relations.
Do you think that's coming? Are we going to get to that point, or is that not even being discussed right now?
Well, you know, I think that is something that could emerge from the meetings this weekend. You know, we've gone through a period of the last 6 weeks where there's been a little bit of a test of strength, and the countries have showed that they are prepared, if necessary, to walk away from negotiations. But there's also a time to try to strike deals and strike arrangements for working with each other. And I think that time has come. I think both countries have a need to reassure their domestic economies and their domestic economic leaders, as well as their political systems, that they can do business. And so I'm hopeful that there can be progress on a number of matters, the trade, restarting the trade relations, but also rebalancing the broader economic relationship.